The sky above the alien city was dark and heavy with clouds. Tall metal buildings stretched into the sky, glowing with strange colors. Cold wind rushed through the narrow streets below, carrying dust and the scent of oil. People walked fast, their eyes forward, never looking at anyone else. No one cared about the girl sitting near the trash piles behind a food stand. Her name was Lyra. Her clothes were torn, her skin pale from the cold, and her long dark hair was tangled. She didn't cry anymore. She had cried too much already. Her arms were wrapped around her knees as she sat on the dirty ground, trying to stay warm. Her stomach growled, but there was nothing left to eat. She hadn't had food for 2 days. The small bag she carried had been stolen. She had nothing now, not even her name just 2 days ago. She had a home. It was not a warm one, but it had walls, food, and her own bed. Her relatives' uncle, aunt, cousins had raised her after her parents died. They were rich and proud, part of one of the ruling families on this planet. But they never loved her. She was different from them, quieter, more curious. She asked too many questions and refused to follow the rules of their family, they said. She was shameful. They said she didn't deserve the family name, and so they threw her out. They erased her from the family registry, locked the doors behind her, and told her never to return. She had begged for a chance, but they walked away without answering. The guards shoved her into the street. Just like that, her life was gone. Now, she sat in the cold, trying to disappear. But someone saw her. A man named Jake walked down that alley by chance. He was human. He looked tired, carrying a box of engine parts under one arm. He wore a thick jacket and had oil stains on his hands. Jake had just finished a repair job on a cargo ship and was heading back to his own old vessel, parked in a hangar. Nearby, he didn't expect anything unusual that day. Then he saw her, a girl with sharp, thin features, alien eyes, and pointed ears. She looked half frozen. Her hands were blue from the cold. She didn't move when he walked by. He stopped. He looked at her for a moment. Most people would keep walking. Most did. But Jake wasn't like most people. Maybe it was something in her eyes. Maybe it was the way she didn't ask for help, but clearly needed it. He knelt beside her and said gently, "Hey, are you all right?" She didn't answer. He placed his box down and took off his coat. He wrapped it around her shoulders. Without asking, she flinched at first, then looked at him. He saw fear in her eyes. And something else, hope. Maybe. "You hungry?" He asked again. She didn't speak, but her eyes lowered, ashamed. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out a protein bar. "It's not much, but better than nothing," he said, unwrapping it and offering it to her. She hesitated, then took it. She ate slowly, her hands shaking. He watched her for a moment, then said, "My ship's nearby. It's warmer than this alley. You don't have to come, but the door's open if you want." He picked up his box and walked away without waiting for a reply. He didn't expect her to follow. But after a few seconds, she stood up on weak legs. She wrapped his coat tight around her and took slow steps after him. They walked through empty streets, past flickering lights and closed shops. She didn't speak. But Jake didn't push her. He led her to a hangar where an old human ship rested, scratched and patched but strong. The ramp lowered with a hiss, and warm air spilled out. He let her in first. Inside. The ship was small but clean. Tools hung on the walls. Wires ran along the ceiling. And the smell of oil mixed with warm air from the heaters. He showed her the small couch and gave her a blanket. "You can rest here," he said. "Bathrooms down the hall. I'll make something hot." She looked around, unsure if it was real. She hadn't felt warmth like this in a long time. He made soup. Not fancy, just instant mix and water. But it was hot and smelled good. When he gave her a bowl, she held it like a treasure. "What's your name?" he asked, sitting across from her. She stared at her bowl. Then, very quietly, she whispered, "Lyra." "I'm Jake," he said, smiling. "Good to meet you, Lyra." She nodded slowly. "You don't have to tell me what happened," he added. "Just rest. You're safe here." Lyra looked at him. She didn't understand why he was helping. On her world, people didn't do that, not without wanting something. But Jake's eyes were kind. There was no trick in them. She ate quietly. Warmth returned to her fingers. Her body relaxed for the first time in days. Later, Jake gave her fresh clothes and let her sleep in the small bunk room. She lay down, still unsure if this was a dream. As she closed her eyes, she whispered softly to herself, "Thank you." Jake, outside, sat in the control seat, staring at the stars beyond the hangar door. He didn't know who she was or why she'd been abandoned, but he knew one thing: no one deserved to be left alone in the cold. Not on any planet. The first morning on Jake's ship felt strange to Lyra. The bed was small, but it was soft and warm. For the first time in days, she had slept through the night. She sat up slowly, listening to the quiet hum of the ship. The smell of something cooking made her nose twitch. She got out of bed and walked to the front of the ship. Jake was already up, standing in the small kitchen area, pouring hot water into 2 cups. "Morning," he said, smiling when he saw her. "You sleep okay?" She nodded shyly. "Tea?" he asked. She nodded again. He handed her a steaming cup. She held it carefully, as if it might disappear. "We're still in the hangar," Jake said, sitting on a stool. "Thought you might need a little time before we move." She looked at him. Her voice was quiet, but she asked, "Why are you helping me?" He shrugged. "Because you needed help. You don't know me. I don't have to. I saw someone in trouble." That was enough. She didn't know how to answer that. No one had ever said something like that to her before. On her planet, most people only helped if they had something to gain. Jake handed her a small plate of food: eggs, bread, and fruit. "Eat," he said. "You need energy." As she ate, she looked around. The ship was old but well cared for. Tools were neatly placed on the walls. Wires were organized. The lights flickered a little, but the warmth made up for it. "You live alone?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "Used to fly with a crew, but now it's just me and the ship. I do small repair jobs, cargo runs, sometimes help colonies that need spare parts." She looked at him. "Do humans always help strangers?" He smiled. "Some do. Not all. But I think we should, after breakfast." Jake showed her round the ship. There was a small engine room, a supply closet, the cockpit, and a second bunk room. He even showed her how some of the systems worked. Lyra listened carefully. "Want to help me fix a panel?" he asked. She nodded. He handed her a small tool. "This one here. Unscrew that cover." She followed his instructions. At first, her hands were unsure, but he guided her patiently. When she got it right, he grinned. "See? Not so hard." For the next few days, she stayed on the ship. Jake never pushed her to talk, but he always offered kindness. He gave her clean clothes, taught her how to cook some simple things, and let her rest when she needed it. Sometimes, she sat by the window and stared at the city outside. The same city that had turned its back on her. She still couldn't believe how fast her life had changed. Thrown out by her own family, like she was. Nothing. One night, as they sat in the cockpit watching the stars, she spoke softly. "They said I was useless." Jake looked at her. "Who?" "My relatives. They said I was a failure. They wanted me to follow family rules, marry someone powerful, be part of their image. I refused. They said I brought shame." "That's not your fault," Jake said. Gently, "They erased my name from the registry. It's like I don't exist anymore." Jake leaned back in his seat. "Well, you exist here. And you're not useless. You're learning fast. You're kind. And you didn't give up, even when it got hard." Her eyes watered, but she didn't cry. Instead, she nodded. Double quotes, "Thank you." She whispered. From that day on, Lyra changed. She woke up earlier. She worked beside Jake, helping him with small repairs. She studied the ship's systems. He let her fly the ship inside the hangar, teaching her the controls. She laughed for the first time in weeks when she made a perfect turn. Jake enjoyed having someone around again. Lyra brought calm to the ship. She asked questions, smiled when she learned something new, and even fixed a broken light panel by herself. But the outside world wasn't quiet. One day, Jake returned from a job and looked serious. He placed a small box of supplies on the counter and said, "I think people are talking." "About what?" she asked. "You, us." "I heard some traders asking questions about a human sheltering an outcast girl." Lyra froze. "They?" "No, some do. Word spreads fast in cities like this. Should I leave?" She asked quietly. "No," Jake said firmly. "You don't have to run. Not again." But she worried. Her family had power. They had eyes in many places. If they found out she was still here, and worse, protected by a human, it could bring trouble. That night, Lyra stayed up, staring at the ceiling. Jake was asleep, but she couldn't rest. She felt guilt, fear, and anger all at once. She didn't want to bring danger to him. In the morning, she told Jake, "I want to learn more." "More?" "About ships, about everything. I don't want to be weak. I want to stand on my own." He nodded slowly. "All right, we'll train more." From that day, Lyra trained harder. Jake taught her how to fix engines, reroute power, and use defense systems. He even set up small self-defense lessons in the cargo area, showing her basic ways to protect herself. She was fast, focused, and serious. As days passed, she grew stronger, not just in skill but in spirit. She started speaking with confidence. She laughed louder. She stood straighter. And for the first time, Jake saw something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Strength. Not the kind that comes from power or money, but the kind that grows when someone rises after being broken. The kind that changes everything. News traveled faster than expected. Jake and Lyra had stayed quiet. They avoided busy places and didn't speak to strangers unless needed. But in a city full of watchers, silence never lasted long. Traders whispered, ship workers gossiped, and soon, someone sent a message to Lyra's old family. The outcast girl had been found. And worse, she was being helped by a human. On the 5th night since Jake returned from his last job, he noticed something strange. A small camera had been placed near the hangar entrance. It wasn't there before. The next morning, he found footprints around the ship, ones that didn't belong to him or Lyra. He told her over breakfast, "I think someone's been watching." "The ship?" Lyra's face went pale. "They know. Could be," Jake said calmly. "But we're not panicking. We're thinking." He walked over to the ship's control panel and checked the outside scans. A strange signal had pinged nearby during the night brief, but enough to worry him. "We need to be ready," he said. Lyra nodded. She had been training every day, fixing systems, flying in short bursts, and learning defense tricks. She wasn't the scared girl on the streets anymore. She was still healing, but now she was stronger. "What if they come for me?" she asked softly. "Then they'll have to go through me," Jake replied. His voice steadied. That evening, someone knocked at the hangar door. Not a polite knock, a heavy one, like someone trying to shake the walls. Jake grabbed a small tool that worked as a non-lethal stunner. He motioned Lyra to stay behind him. When he opened the hangar door, 3 tall aliens stood outside, all dressed in dark uniforms with family crests. "Step aside, human," one of them said. "We're here for the girl. She's not going anywhere." Jake replied, "She belongs to the House of Kelvar. She has no rights outside our control." Jake laughed once, short and cold. "On Earth, we don't believe in owning people. And this hangar is neutral ground." The alien stepped forward. But Jake didn't move. "This is your warning." The lead alien said, "Return her, or we'll take her by force." "You can try," Jake said. The aliens walked away, but Jake knew they weren't giving up. Inside the ship, Lyra waited quietly, hands clenched in her lap. "They won't stop," she whispered when Jake returned. "Then we fight smart," he said. "We don't hide. We prepare." They spent the next 2 days locking down the ship. Jake upgraded the door security, added sensor traps, and adjusted the ship's shields. Lyra learned how to control the defense panel. Jake taught her how to track movement and spot intruders. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were planning. One night, Jake and Lyra sat in the cockpit, staring at a small screen that showed the city lights below. "I'm not afraid," Lyra said suddenly. "You?" "Sure," Jake asked. Yes, they tried to break me once, but I'm still here. Jake looked at her with pride. You've come a long way, she smiled. Because of you, you saved yourself, Lyra. I just gave you a chance. Just then, the ship's alarm beeped. Someone was trying to enter the hangar again. Jake jumped to his feet. Lyra followed, already moving to the defense panel. Camera 1, right side, she said quickly. He checked the screen. For figures now, not just watchers. These ones carried tools to cut through metal. They're serious this time, Jake said. Lyra's single quotes eyes narrowed. So are we? Jake nodded. Activate lockdown. Charge the shields. She pressed the button smoothly. Lights blinked red as the ship sealed up. You take left monitors. I'll prep the defense arc, Jake said. They worked fast, a real team. Outside, sparks flew as the intruders tried to cut through the hangar lock. But Jake had rewired it the second they touched it. A burst of light shocked them backward. They fell hard, shouting in surprise. The others ran inside. Lyra let out a breath. We didn't hurt them too bad, right? Just a warning, Jake said. They won't forget it. But he knew this wasn't over. If her family wanted to take her by force, they would send more next time, stronger, better trained. And that meant they needed to leave. We can't stay in this city, he said. Where will we go? Somewhere new. Out of colonies. There are places where names don't matter, only skills. She looked at him, unsure. You leave all your work behind. He smiled. You're worth more than any job. They packed quickly. Jake sold a few spare parts and bought extra fuel. Lyra backed up the ship's files and mapped out a route to a nearby moon with safe ports. It was risky, but staying was more dangerous. On the night they left, Lyra stood by the window one last time. The city lights still flickered. She didn't feel sad leaving it behind. It had never really been home. You ready? Jake asked from the cockpit. Yes, she said. The ship lifted into the air, engines humming softly. As it rose higher, Lyra watched the city disappear below. Her past was down there, broken promises, cruel words, and cold streets. But ahead of her was something new. Something better. Freedom. And someone who believed in her. As the stars opened wide above them, Lyra whispered, I won't run anymore. Jake glanced at her. You're not running. You're flying. And together, they left the shadows behind. The small ship moved silently through the black space, its engines glowing softly in the dark. Inside, Lyra and Jake sat in the cockpit, watching stars glide past the window. They were far from the alien city now, heading toward a distant colony, known for welcoming those who were outcast. Lyra looked different these days. Her eyes were sharper, her shoulders stronger. She no longer hid behind fear or shame. The warmth Jake had shown her had changed something inside. She was growing into herself. Do you think we'll be safe there? She asked, voice low. Jake smiled. It's not a promise, but it's better than running forever. They arrived at the colony moon after a long journey. The place was rough and dusty, full of miners, traders, and wanderers. No one cared about family names or politics here. People earned respect by what they did, not where they came from. They found a small dock to land the ship. As the ramp lowered, Lyra took a deep breath and stepped onto solid ground. The air was dry but fresh. The noise of the market filled the streets, a mix of alien languages, music, and shouting. Jake led her through the crowd, stopping at a repair shop where he knew a few friendly faces. This is our new start, he said. We fix things. We help people. No one asks about your past. Lyra smiled faintly. I want to help. Days passed as they worked side by side. Jake repaired ships, while Lyra learned fast. She met other outcast aliens with scars, humans with lost families, and robots with broken circuits. Together, they shared stories and hopes. One day, a small group approached their workshop. An alien with bright blue skin and sharp eyes introduced herself as Rena. We heard about you, Rena said, looking at Lyra. Outcast, but not broken. Lyra felt shy but nodded. Rena smiled. This colony needs people like you, strong, kind, willing to fight for those left behind. Jake looked at Lyra and said, See, you're not alone. Ren and her friends invited Lyra and Jake to join a group called the Free Hands. They were helpers, fixers, protectors, and friends to those ignored by the larger worlds. Lyra agreed. As she joined the group, Lyra found purpose. She helped fix ships, carried supplies, and even learned to pilot smaller craft. Her confidence grew. The bond between her and Jake deepened, like two stars moving closer in a vast sky, but far away. Her old family did not forget. Word had spread that Lyra was alive and making a name for herself. The House of Kelvar was angry, not just because of the shame she brought, but because their enemies could use her as a weapon. If she grew strong and gathered allies, it could weaken their control. So they sent a new threat. A mercenary ship, fast and armed, appeared near the colony moon. It moved with deadly precision, scanning for Lyra and Jake's ship. One evening, while Lyra and Jake worked late, the ship's sensors picked up strange signals. Jake frowned. "We have company," he said. Lyra's single quotes as heart raced, but she stood tall. "Are they dangerous?" "Mercenaries," Jake said. "They don't care who they hurt." They prepared the ship for a quick escape. Jake tested the engines while Lyra checked the defense systems. The Free Hands group gathered nearby, ready to help. When the mercenary ship arrived, it broadcast a message. "Lyra Kelvar, surrender now. Return to your family or face destruction." Lyra stepped forward. "I'm no longer theirs. I fight for freedom." Jake took the pilot's seat. "Hold tight. We're going to show them we're not easy prey." The battle was quick but fierce. The mercenary ship fired lasers and missiles, but Jake's ship dodged with skill. Lyra managed the shields and launched countermeasures. The Free Hands attacked from the colony, using small fighters to harass the mercenaries. Their teamwork surprised the enemy. After a tense fight, the mercenaries retreated, damaged and defeated. Lyra looked at Jake, breathless but smiling. "We did it, together," Jake said. That night, the colony celebrated their victory. Lyra was no longer a broken exile. She was a leader, a fighter, and a friend. Her past could try to take her down, but she was ready, because now she wasn't alone. The stars shone bright above the colony moon, but Lyra's thoughts were heavy. The recent fight with the mercenaries had shown that her past was never far behind. The House of Kelvar would not give up easily. They wanted her back, or worse. Jake stood beside her on the ship's small observation deck, looking out into the endless dark. "You worry too much," he said softly. She shook her head. "This is bigger than me now. They want to destroy what we've built. They want to scare everyone who stands with us." He took her hand. "Then we stand stronger, together." Their words were a promise, but the danger was real. Days later, a message arrived from the House of Kelvar. It was clear and cold. "Return. Lyra within 24 hours. Refusal means war." The colony council called a meeting. The Free Hands gathered to discuss. Many feared the wrath of the powerful family. "We can't let them bully us," Lyra said firmly. "We fight for our right to live free." Jake nodded. "And we fight smart. No blind battles." They prepared defenses, repaired ships, and trained volunteers. The colony was ready, but the weight of war hung over them. On the final day, as the sun set red behind the mountains, the Kelvar fleet arrived. Large ships of dark armor and sharp edges filled the sky. Their presence was a threat. Lyra stood on the bridge, her heart steady. She spoke to the fleet's commander, a tall alien with cold eyes. "I am no longer yours. You have no right to claim me." The commander's voice was harsh. "You will obey, or we destroy this colony." Jake's fingers hovered over the controls. "Not today." The battle began with a roar. Lasers sliced the sky. Missiles flew. Ships twisted and turned, trying to outsmart each other. Jake and Lyra worked in perfect sync. He piloted with skill. She managed shields and weapons with precision. The Free Hands fought bravely alongside them, defending their home. Lyra remembered her days on the streets, the hunger, the cold, the fear. Now, she fought for something bigger than herself. Midway through the battle, the Kelvar commander sent a warning: "Surrender, or all will burn." Lyra's voice was clear. "We will never surrender." With a sudden burst, Jake's ship fired a powerful pulse that disabled one of the Kelvar ships. The free hands followed, using clever tactics and teamwork to weaken the fleet. The tide turned. The Kelvar ships, surprised by the resistance, began to retreat. The colony cheered. After the battle, Lyra stood before the council. We won because we believed in each other, because kindness gave us strength. No one is useless or alone. Her words spread across the galaxy, inspiring outcasts and fighters everywhere. Jake smiled. Proud of the woman she had become. As the colony healed, Lyra and Jake prepared to travel together, helping others like them, those who needed hope and a second chance. The girl once thrown out on the street was now a symbol of courage and change. And together, they would shape a better future.